Hey YouTube, we're back with another movie review, and this time Sin is going to review the movie Wonka. So if you could, please like, subscribe, hit the post notification bell, and comment down below. Without further ado, here's the review.
I want to take a moment to welcome everyone to the Watch This Shit podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. My name is Seneca, the movie professor. With this podcast, we're going to give you the definitive decision on whether you should go view a new movie release or not. It's real easy. If we say, watch this shit, stop what you're doing, and enjoy some good cinema. If we say, don't watch this shit, avoid it as you would not asking what flavor this is before eating a candy. Or don't. You can do what you want. It may be fun, or it may see you looking for a napkin to politely spit out a bogey-flavored jelly bean. You don't want to listen to us? You put your life in your own hands. I'll tell you who needs a win. Our homies at Warner Brothers. Not saying they haven't had some decent showings this year. They have. But with more negatives than positives, they need to find a way to balance that equation. While I didn't care for Barbie, it was clearly a financial hit. That's at the very least. Creed 3 is in my top 5 favorite movies of the year. That's all for the good. Now let's look at the movies on the naughty list. Blue Beetle, The Flash, Meg 2. Honestly, I could go down the rest of the list, but you get the point. Speaking from the future, Aquaman 2 was an utter train wreck of a movie. Put that shit on the naughty list. Today, let's see if they can recapture some magic with Wonka Origins, the story of how Willy got his chocolate factory. This is the prequel following a remake to the adaptation of a book. I'm not sure anyone asked for this, but they gave it to them, so let's look at the story. Willy Wonka travels to a town in Britain in order to make his fortune by opening a chocolate factory. His plan is to take his theatrics, recipes, and natural magical talent and package that up into a guerrilla marketing strategy to get his name and wares out to the public. The plan seems sound until he learns that there are 3 chocolate moguls that have formed an oligopoly on the sweets industry in the area. The police are in their pocket and will enforce whatever rules they see fit. Because of this, he is not allowed to peddle his goods and ends up in debt to a duo that specializes in taking advantage of down-on-their-luck citizens. Many people have been trapped in their clutches along with Wonka. They come together and devise a scheme in order to earn their freedom by using pop-up stations to sell Wonka's one-of-a-kind creations. This puts him in direct opposition with the 3 factory owners from earlier. Now, Wonka and his friends had to pull off a heist to be able to prove that the villains have been acting villainous this whole time. Timothée Chalamet plays Wonka in this film. Just like Warner Brothers, he needed to make up for some of his past transgressions. Bones and All, which he was the lead in, was one of my least favorite movies of last year. That film was utter bullshit. I hated it with every part of my body. The Dune remake was poor and his contribution was not special. In the Don't Look Up movie on Netflix, he was there, and that movie was bad. It's not that his performance was awful in either of those last 2, but it wasn't anything special. A great actor can at least elevate the material they are given. It may not be enough to save the movie, but at least we would be able to say Timmy C nailed his part. His task is to play this iconic character during a younger point in his life, than we have seen before. The bad and the good of it is we have previous iterations of the character to compare him to. Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp both preceded him as the titular Wonka. I dare say he played the role better than either of them. He did play it a little dumber than those others, but also more kind. I think that helped make him more endearing. He doesn't get to be as unpredictable as Wilder or batshit insane as Depp, but his personality fits more closely with the movie that he's in. One of my favorite Wilder lines is, "No, stop, don't," when Mike TV wanted to get shrunk down to be the first kid to be small enough to get inside of a television. This Wonka doesn't have the same demeanor. He is much more in line with the film, meaning surface level. What you see is what you get, which makes sense here, but I would have liked to see some hints of that instability. They almost went there for a second, but then immediately showed us that he wasn't imagining the little orange faced men with green hair. For just a brief glimpse, it played with the idea that this guy might not be all the way there mentally, only to confirm he really did see those guys a couple minutes later. From the opening, right at the first line of spoken dialogue, they immediately began singing. I could see out of my peripheral my wife's face. She's not the biggest fan of musicals, so for them to get right to singing without warming up the audience at all, that didn't sit very well with her. I laughed at her reaction, but as the songs kept coming, I thought to myself, uh-oh, this isn't going well for me either. What turned it around was a reprise of one of the songs that was a big set piece one time when Wonka got captured into servitude by the duo that owned the hotel. They brought the song back, made it better with slight variations of what they did before. That got my attention. Then the next song was a mashup of two songs at once. Willie and his child sidekick both sung songs simultaneously that were unrelated but shared the same melody. It was my favorite song in the entire film. Then the one after that, he initially opened his candy store. This performance saw him dancing with one of the older citizens and had those old, I can't think of the name, but if you remember the commercial with the little girl that sung Animal Crackers in My Suit. And during that time period, they had a lot of dance numbers in film. It was just like that. The set of songs really sold me on this film. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. This film saw a string of antagonists. There were the three chocolate corporate thugs that were played by three actors big in the British film world. The evil hotel duo was led by the female of the pair being played by Olivia Colman, whom we just witnessed in the horrible Secret Invasion. The makeup department had the task of giving her horrible teeth comparable to the quality of the show that she was previously in. They did a great job. Keegan-Michael Key playing the chief of police, with possibly the best cameo going to Rowan Atkinson as the priest. Who doesn't love Mr. Bean? He was only in a few scenes, but just seeing him always makes me think back on the laughs he provided me with his goofy performances. There was no shortage of British cameos here. Paul King, the director, pulled out his Rolodex and said, "Oi, come on, mates, we're going to have a ball." Well, Keegan being the outlier in the antagonist role, as he is not a Brit at all. What he is a guy that wants so badly to have people hear him singing. He was in the awful Apple TV series Smigadoon. It was so bad. It goes back to my wife not particularly liking musicals. We had to turn that shit off forever. Some shows you watch a couple episodes and months later, maybe years later, you go back to it. Yeah, that won't be happening with this show. He doesn't sound bad as a singer, but it's also nothing that's going to have anyone craving to hear it constantly. Callbacks abound to the original 1970s film. At the same time, it tries to diverge and forge its own path. All the things you expect to be there are there. World of Pure Imagination, Good Day, Sir, I don't like the look of it. All the classics. Just with a new spin, right? So, Good Day, Sir was previously Wonka's line. Now, Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa is the one that spouts it frequently. These help bridge the gap from what we know to what we see. Which brings me to one of the differences that I don't care much for. In the original film, Wonka would spout some insane dialogue. The point of his stories weren't always if they were true or not, but the sense of wonder in trying to determine what the meaning of what he was saying is. He would talk of creatures that he had run-ins with on his adventures and provide caution when dealing with said creatures. Yeah, it was the 70s, so Scanterbatch probably wasn't going to be practically created on this film's budget. Now we live in the future, as Young Sam says. They can create anything with just a press of a few buttons digitally. So a lot of the wonder is gone because now you see the wild imaginings rather than what you would come up with in your own head. Film is a visual medium, So I get why animating some of the crazy stories can improve the viewing experience. These films are adaptations of a story that started as a book. I would like to see I would like some of the things being left up to the imagination of the audience. They put it all out there. So if it's not good, there's nothing to fall back on. Plus, having Wonka just be playing crazy was always fun for me as a kid. He was unpredictable. You never knew if he was going to sing a song, make a deadpan joke, or fly off the handle. It is very hard to get the kid sidekick thing right, especially when one has been put upon by society. Here, we have a young lady that has every right to be a brat and a bitch, but she's not. She is sweet and helpful. She also plays a good straight man for Wonka's eccentric sensibilities. Kala Lane plays Noodle, and her character's tragic backstory sees her as an orphan that was dropped off with the sub antagonist as a baby. She is young, but holds a seriousness that is a counter to the silliness of Wonka. It's a good balancing act that turns the previous two films on their head. We are used to the kid characters being on all kinds of bullshit. This time, the kid character is more mature than the adults. She does have a dream that she wants to see realized and uses that to keep her spirits high, even when she is poorly treated. Wonka gives her that little glimmer of hope with his optimism that her desires can become reality. She, in turn, teaches him important life skills like fucking reading that an adult should probably already have. Their relationship is what I most enjoy about this movie. My final verdict on this one is watch this shit. It had a slow start, but once it captured me, I was along for the ride. The music improves as it goes along with the set pieces. The sets are beautifully created and rendered. Yes, you can tell a combination of green screen is used along with the actual physical settings, but it blends surprisingly well. This is a good family movie to check out during the holiday season. Thank you for listening to another episode of Watch This Shit. You come here for the realest take on new movies. So make sure to follow us so you're not left in the dark on whether you should check out a new movie or not. If you haven't seen this shit yet, what the fuck are you waiting for? We told you what to do. Now it's up to you to go do it. Check us out next time when we review the second of our Christmas movies, Gremlins. And good day to you. Yes, Willy Wonka is the primary reasoning for Good Day being the close of our reviews. Just a little tidbit of watch this shit lore.